Well, hello, folks. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood and a beautiful day for me to record another video. I had two upsetting, disturbing news stories come across my path yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to do a video yesterday. So I thought I'd take the time today to do a video for you. And one of the news stories is a topic that I wish would just go away. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of talking about it. To me, personally, I believe it's a non-issue. And the other one, I wish would go away because there's no need for these things to happen. And if you've been following me and watching my videos, I'm fairly certain you know the news stories I'm talking about. One of them is a transgender people in the bathroom story. The other one is, again, the Stanford rapist. And I think I'm going to lead with the Stanford rapist story because it's the one that fills me with the most hate. Not hate. It fills me with the most amount of rage. Okay? Because it doesn't make sense to me why. We, as members of a society, have to continually talk to our young women and our girls and teach them how to avoid being raped, how to avoid sending the wrong message to the guy in class, how to defend yourself, how to take precautions if you go to a party and could potentially drink too much alcohol. And here's a revolutionary idea for everybody, okay? Instead of having to spend so much time teaching our daughters how to avoid being raped, how to avoid being sexually assaulted, how to protect themselves, and how to take steps to make sure that they don't fall a victim to a rape or a sexual assault because they've had too much alcohol at a party. Instead of spending so much time teaching young ladies this and telling young ladies, don't wear that, don't wear this, don't wink or smile at this guy if you don't really like him, yada, yada, yada. How about this? How about if we spend that time teaching boys not to fucking rape women? There you go. Revolutionary idea. I can't believe nobody's thought of this before. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I can, because we have a rape culture in this country and in this society. The Stanford rape case is bringing out, once again, the set of statistics about rape and sexual assaults on college campuses, and it is staggering. It is staggering, people, and I'm sorry. If you are a father or a mother and you send your daughter off to college in September, I do not think that it is an unreasonable expectation that your daughter will be safe in college and you will not have to worry about your daughter being raped or sexually assaulted by some frat boy douchebag. I'm sorry. And I think it falls on all of us. All of us. Not just college administrators, not just college students. It falls on all of us. The Stanford case shows what happens when an ordinary person walking through or riding a bicycle through an area who sees something that's not right and stops and says, that's not right. It shows what happens. This boy got arrested that night because someone said something. And all too often, people see something like that, oh, it's none of my business. They hear that one of their next door neighbors getting beat within inches of her life, on a repeated basis. It's domestic, it's between them, it's none of my business, so I'm not going to call the cops. Until one day she winds up dead. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this country. Now, I'm sorry, a lot of this see something, if you see something, say something, generates more paranoia. Oh my God, did he leave his bag at the bench and walk away when he's going to the bathroom at a train station? Oh my God, I gotta call the anti-terrorist people. Oh my God, did he just pay with a $20 bill in cash at a Starbucks to get coffee? Oh my God, terrorists pay in cash. I've got to call the NSA. Because this dude's paying cash. Because if you see something, say something. That kind of shit, a lot of times, is bullshit and drums up more paranoia, okay? But if you see a woman getting beat by her husband or her boyfriend or her father or whatever, say something, speak up, call the cops. If you see a woman getting raped, speak up, say something, do something, call the cops. If you're at a frat party or a sorority party and there's a young lady there who is obviously intoxicated and you think there's a possibility that she could be raped, do something to defend her, to protect her, to keep her from getting raped, okay? Now, the news story. It came out yesterday that this little son of a bitch that raped this young woman at Stanford will only be serving 3 months out of a 6-month jail sentence. Now, I have a thought on this. Obviously, the jury agrees with my viewpoint on this, that the son of a bitch is guilty and the son of a bitch needs jail time. The problem lies with the judge. Now, first off, in having a conversation about this with several people, it's been relayed to me several times that one of the extenuating circumstances in this case was she had no recollection of what happened because she was incapacitated, because she was intoxicated. Well, you know what? There's medical evidence, and it doesn't take an expert to look at the medical evidence and know that the abrasions, the lesions, and the dirt and debris that was found inside of her body, inside of her orifice, as a result of this brutal attack, this brutal rape, could not have been a consensual thing. So regardless of whether she was passed out, regardless of whether she was incapacitated in any way, and regardless of whether she remembers what happened to her or not, that is enough. That and the fact that you have 2 men who had to chase him down and tackle him because he took off running when they saw him raping her. So to use that as an extenuating circumstance in giving this boy a light sentence is bullshit. And I'll tell you what, if it looks like bullshit, if it smells like bullshit, I'm sure as hell not gonna say it's a pile of fucking rose petals. I believe this is California. I believe Stanford University is in California. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not up on colleges and college campuses. I can tell you where Wesley College is in Dover. I can tell you where the campus of the University of Delaware is. And I can tell you where the campus for West Virginia University is. That's about it. Oh, and I can tell you where the Air Force Academy is. That's about it. But here's my thing. I believe, and I wish that someone who watches this video would share this with someone in the area where this judge is hearing cases, and someone that has the ability to affect this change. Because what needs to happen is every case that has come before this judge that has been a rape or sexual assault case needs to be the documentation on it needs to be gathered up. And there needs to be a review. I believe it's called a judicial review. Because honestly, I believe that this isn't the first time this judge has done something like this. And I honestly don't believe it'll be the last time this judge has done something like this. And if there is a gap, any kind of gap, any slightest whiff of impropriety in the way the judge sentences rapists and people involved in sexual assault cases, then the judge needs to be pulled from the stand. And furthermore, because judges are typically lawyers before they get judgeships, he needs to be debarred, whatever they call it. When you're no longer part of the Bar Association, you're no longer licensed to practice law, and this needs to be universal in all 50 states. Because as far as I'm concerned, and it's my humble opinion here, but as far as I'm concerned, and my humble opinion tells me, by allowing this douchebag's attorney to re-victimize the victim the way that was done. Did you urinate? Where did you urinate? What were you wearing? Was anybody with you when you urinated? Did you urinate outside? What were you wearing? Did you look at him? Did you wink at him? Did you dance at him? How much did you drink? Do you have a habit of drinking like that? Were you a partier when you were in college? What did you mean when you texted this to your boyfriend? The judge was complicit. The judge was complicit, and I'm sorry, just as guilty. Just as guilty as the douchebag that fucking raped her. And so was his defense attorney. And I'm telling you right now, if this kid weren't a rather affluent white young man, weren't a star athlete with Olympic aspirations, if he were a young black man who just barely squeaked by with good enough grades to get into Stanford, who didn't have the academic achievements or the athletic achievements that this douchebag had, he would have been willing, the judge would have thrown the book at the young black man. And if you remember a couple of videos ago, I said I wanted to do a video about the media bias and media manipulation surrounding this case. I'll throw a little snippet of that in real quick here. In the case of the Stanford rapist, when you read news stories, even online, you read news stories about this case, they show a photograph of this young man. What photograph do they show you of him? They show you his senior yearbook, his high school senior yearbook photo, where he's in a suit and he's got a nice smile and he looks like the clean-cut all-American kid. It took from January until this week. What are we, the second week in June? For the police to release his booking intake mugshot. And the media has used his high school yearbook photo. Now, think back to other stories that you've read about rapists and rape cases. The headlines, especially if it was a black perpetrator, a black suspect. And think back to the headlines. Suspect captured in rape case. What photos do they use for these black men that get arrested for rape? They're mugshots. They don't show photos that paint this person in a positive light, but the Stanford rapist gets painted in a positive, gets a picture that paints him in a positive light. They also don't talk about a black man who's accused of rape, his achievements. How maybe he rescued kittens from a fire. Or how maybe he might be the employee of the month 6 months running at his job. or maybe how in high school he was a star athlete. They don't give you those details, but they gave you all these lovey-dovey, sugar-sweet, sugar-coated bullshit details about the Stanford rapist and his swimming stats. So what's the diff? He seems to be fairly affluential. He seems to be from a fairly well-off family, and he's white. Don't believe there's racial bias? Don't believe there's white privilege? Look at this case. Now the other news story. I've been saying for a while, when it comes to the transgendered people in the bathroom issues, someone is going to get hurt. The bulk of these incidences where you're hearing of women getting bullied in the bathroom because they don't look feminine enough, or being pulled out of a bathroom by a cop because she doesn't look feminine enough, or what have you. The bulk of these incidences, whether they're getting reported in the media or not, are taking place in states that have extremely lax carry laws for guns. They're open carry states, and they have stand your ground laws. So you don't need to be Miss Cleo with a crystal ball, child. You don't need the power of the tarot cards to tell you what's going to happen, child. Someone's going to fucking get shot. They're going to get seriously injured, and they're going to get killed. And why? Because it goes back to this one law in North Carolina. A law that, by the way, when you look at the law in its entirety, is not just about, or not just transgenders in the bathroom. It tells towns and cities in North Carolina that you cannot pass anti-discrimination city ordinances that are stronger than the state of North Carolina's anti-discrimination laws. And when they passed this law, they also effectively stripped anything in the state's anti-discrimination laws and protection from discrimination ordinances about transgendered people. And they did this because one town had a town council that put forth an ordinance in the town that says you cannot discriminate against people based on sexual orientation, race, religion, or sexual identity. And the state legislature wanted to rush this bill through and get it passed and on the books before that town's ordinance took effect. So when you hear these people from North Carolina, especially legislators, saying this isn't discriminatory, you're goddamn fucking right, it's discriminatory. And when they say that, it blows the argument that they themselves have been screaming about we need to protect women and young girls from sex perverts in the bathroom. It blows that argument completely out of the water. Yet people are still latching on to it. Now, to get to the news story from yesterday. In Illinois, in a Target in Illinois, an explosive device was detonated in the bathroom. Kaboom! A bomb went off. They fucking bombed a bathroom in a Target store in Illinois yesterday. Now, I'm having a hard time trying to wrap my brain around this, pardon my language, fucked up logic. You tell me we have to protect women and little girls from sex perverts in the bathroom. Hell, you've got Mr. Dobson, the preacher man, out in Colorado, who founded Focus on the Family, writing articles for fucking conservative websites or newspapers or whatever the hell it was that he wrote it for, saying if this had happened 100 years ago, somebody would have gotten shot. I pray to God that you find the masculinity to defend your wife and your little girls from sex perverts that'll go into the bathroom and unzip and urinate in front of them. Very veiled. Very veiled. But if you understand how these people's minds work, it's a call for people to take up arms and shoot transgendered people in the bathroom without coming out and saying that's what he's calling for them to do. And why does he do it? So that when something like the bomb going off in the bathroom at a Target store in Illinois happens, and someone says, well, Mr. Dobson, here it is right here in black and white, you said da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, he can sit there under oath and say, I didn't mean for that to happen. I didn't tell anyone to detonate a bomb. I didn't tell anyone to shoot people. I just said that we have to defend our little girls. And so there's this logic that I can't get my head wrapped around, and it makes no sense to me. We have to protect women and little girls from sex perverts in public bathrooms. So let's go into a bathroom and detonate a bomb that could cause serious injury or kill innocent women and little girls in the bathroom. Well, hell's bells! That sure as hell will protect them from the sex perverts. And meanwhile, while we're talking about sex perverts, the largest group of people that are protesting fucking sex perverts in bathrooms and homosexual marriage and whatnot are people in the religious community. Like, little girls and little boys have never been molested by pedophile priests and ministers. Like, there's never been a case of sexual assault perpetrated by a preacher man. But you're going to preach to me about how I'm going to burn in hell because I'm gay. So I guess if you identify as being straight and you thump a Bible and you jump up on Sunday morning and be the first one to say amen, hallelujah, praise Jesus, but you got your hand down a little boy's pants behind the church after services, that's fine. Really, people? Really? You know, I used to think there was some hope for us. Us as a nation, us as a society, us as humans. I used to think there's hope. But the more time goes on, the more I think about how the Stanford rapist only serves 3 months of a 6-month sentence when the sentence should have been stiffer because, we have to take into consideration that a long jail sentence would have negative effects on this young man. Well, no one takes into consideration what his victim has experienced and is experiencing during the trial and during the sentencing. And when there's people who believe we have to protect women and little girls from sex perverts in public bathrooms, so we'll go set off an explosive device. We'll detonate a fucking bomb in a bathroom is a good idea. Folks, there's no hope for us. There's no hope for us as Americans. There's no hope for us as humans. We are all fucked. Oh, when it goes beyond the Stanford rapist, it goes beyond sex perverts and transgendered people in the bathroom. We watch the news. And it doesn't matter what news network we watch, folks. It doesn't matter whether you're a fan of MSNBC, CNN, CBS, NBC, Fox News. It doesn't matter. We watch the news. We willingly allow ourselves to be manipulated by the media. We read the Huffington Post. We read the Leftist Weekly online. We read the Conservative Journal, the American Conservative Journal, or whatever news sources we read online. And we willingly allow ourselves to be manipulated. As long as these things continue to happen, we're fucked. We have no hope for humanity. We have no hope for our American society. But that's just one American's opinion.